I'm so I'm really excited that you're coming to Burlington.
Yeah, we're like it's not like we got invited, but it was just
Oh,
when I was already here and it wasn't planned. Like we did this other big Western trip, like like two provinces and the Yukon. So there was like not enough time now to just go the other way as well.
right,
So
right.
it's gonna
Yeah,
be organized later. But anyways, like we definitely want to go to like more Alberta and Saskatchewan, and then if we're already that way, just keep going.
yeah, I see. Um, uh, just so we continue, I just want to say I'm a little self-conscious about it, but I broke my tooth. I look a bit like a
Oh yeah,
hillbilly
that's
or a
whatever.
hockey player.
Oh yeah, it's Canadian.
Yeah, okay. Elbows up.
Very
Don't
Canadian.
lead with your face.
Oh, did you actually hit it with something?
A long time ago, when I was in the Yukon, and I broke a couple teeth playing ball,
Oh yeah.
and then I re-broke it. I was visiting Jesse over Christmas, and I anyway, I broke it again. So
Oh well, we all fall apart eventually.
yeah.
Like
Oh my old.
I have a rotator cuff injury. I can't even move my arm. I'm just not.
Oh
Can't
no.
even. I don't like. I have to travel, and I only have one hand. I can't lift it. This is
Oh no.
gonna be.
That's going to be so challenging. It's a long flight too to be uncomfortable in
It's
your.
more about putting the luggage up there is what I'm concerned about. But I'm just gonna have to
Oh
suck it up
well,
and do it. I guess.
there'll be people around to help you.
We'll hope
I'm
so.
sure. You just I don't know. I have found if you I had to get a new hip and I found that if I went anywhere with my cane, people were so helpful. Like if you have a cane or something and they can see that you have some kind of disability, people
Well, I
just
mean, I should have my arm up in a sling, actually.
yeah, put it in a sling.
Um, yeah, whatever. I'll manage.
Yeah. But if you put it in a sling, then people will see it and they will just automatically offer you their assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
watched those videos that you so graciously took, and and
Well, yeah, I thought you should see him, and I know like just short videos are really good. All you need is the essence. And I've been doing a lot of work with him, and he has improved a lot. Like those instances wouldn't normally occur because I would see the other dog and I would
prevent.
prepare better and have my attention focused on the dog and two hands on the dog, not one
Yeah.
with my phone. And he is better, but there's always still a reaction unless I can maintain a certain distance, and
And
that's getting
how
closer.
old is he now?
He is, I was just thinking about this. Forget when we had our lessons, was that 2021?
Yeah,
I
must
think
be
I think he turned
five.
one in March of 2021. So he would be five.
Oh yeah.
Five. Oh, yeah, five now.
Yeah.
He was neutered
Recently
recently.
or then?
Recently, like last summer, he was neutered.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I've seen, like now he trusts you. I can see it on his body language that he's got no worries about you. And part of it is that he's also turned 5 years old and he's got this very strong instinct that he's that way, he's wired that way. And so we need to shut him down.
Hmm.
It's no longer that conditioning him and trying to get him to play now. Like he plays with you, I imagine.
Oh yeah. He's
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 good on the puller. He doesn't do selective things. He actually like
oh
locks in and do it with you.
oh my gosh, he is so locked in on Puller. Like I think it's the thing he likes best in the world, other than squirrels and rabbits. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you were to have the rings on you when there's another dog around, would he still play with you?
Um, I think it would depend how close the other dog got. Like if the
Like
other
let's
dog
say
got
let's say 20 feet.
20 feet. Yeah, but I think I would be losing his focus, I think. Like he he's definitely locked in on the pullers, but I should have tested that actually because, and I've been thinking about it, like, because I think the same thing, like if I took the pullers with me when we walked, I could probably redirect his energy onto the pullers. But yeah, I'm not really answering your question. I'm not,
The answer is that you don't know.
yeah, I'm not
Haven't done it.
confident, but
Yeah, that's
yeah.
okay. Like my guess is that you would have to struggle keeping his attention, and it very much would depend how close he is to the other dog. But
Hmm.
the thing is that if he likes the puller, then you can actually use two things to get him to associate other dogs with things that are more pleasant to him. One is which being the food. So I would only feed him on the street. That would be one thing. If you have time. If
Oh, don't feed him in the house anymore. Like
no,
take him out and feed him like where
no,
there's
you
other.
see a dog, you get a little bit of supper or something. You know what I mean? So
Ah, yeah,
you
okay.
take because you have to probably take him for a walk anyways.
Oh,
Even if
yeah.
you don't go for a walk, you just stand in a street corner. I don't care where you are standing. You see a dog, try to lure him away. If he doesn't, then pop him in and turn him around physically and sit him down and give him the food. And if he doesn't
Oh,
eat, you go home right away. If he doesn't eat, you go home right away. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. And then 4 days
okay.
later, he will understand that the only way he can eat is he turns his attention to you away from the other dog. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So that's one way to approach it. The other way to approach it is to take the ring and don't puller him at home. Just take him out to a place where you can get distance and you know that there are dogs or wildlife. You can even start on squirrels. It doesn't matter who you're starting on. If you don't want to be dealing with the general public, just go find some squirrels in the park and you take the dog and you don't let him loose. You just hold him on a line or on a whatever leash. And the only thing he needs to do is tug if you physically can manage that, or if you can't manage it physically, tie him to a tree so you don't have to hold him. And then
Uh,
like tie him to on like on not a super long line, that maybe like a 15-foot line, you tie him out and not on a prong, just on a flat collar or on a harness. And
mhm.
he can and you can have another leash on the other collar. And if he sees something, you just like give it a little tug to get his attention and see if you can tug with the dog. Okay. So if he
Uh,
doesn't tug, you take him home and he gets to be bored. He's tethered or he's in a kennel. Like we have to get it out of him. We have to turn his mind and he has to turn his own mind. I can't get it out of him because that would be a fight and I'm not willing to fight him. So nobody should fight him because we would lose. You know what I mean? You can only win these kind of battles temporarily with dogs. So
uh,
so you take the two major component of the dog, which is one is a prey drive and the other one is eating, right? And depending on your day and how much time you have or how you want to do it, you can try first with the puller and don't show him the food because if he gets the wind of it that you have food on you, he will hold out, right? So have the food in the car someplace. Don't take it with you. Go out there, tie him to a tree because did you say you had a hip replacement?
pardon me?
Did you say you had a hip replacement?
Yeah, but I'm fine. I'm totally fine.
Okay, so
Yeah,
just don't hurt yourself. But like the main thing is that we're here for you to put your frustration on the ring and not have access to the other dogs and stop yanking me around. Okay.
right.
And
So
so,
if I have him out there and another dog appears and I've got the rings and he does not focus on the rings, we go home and he's bored.
well, you can try, 2, 3 times, see if
Yeah,
you can. Because let's say if the dog is really close,
yeah,
and it's better if you just stand beside your dog and put him in the luggage.
yeah.
Because what
Okay.
he's doing is he's standing away from you. He's like tail up. He's all about it. He owns the joint. He's ahead of you. You're just someplace. He's got no care about anybody except what he's looking at, and he's fixating. So at least what you can do is to be beside each other, and he's not ahead of you, and he's in a down position. Just like put him in the luggage, and even if he goes on and on, blah blah blah, just ignore it. He has to
Oh, okay.
learn. He has to learn that he can't go forward. That's the
Okay.
first thing.
Okay.
Don't even bother.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere. And he can throw all the fits he wants, but no. So I think that the best way to approach it would be is to go somewhere, start like show him the routine. We go someplace, we get out, you get in the big white collar or the harness, you get back tied, you have another line on the front on the other collar so that you physically can say, hey, like you can check him. It's like, don't go that way, go this way. Little check when he's going away, check, check. A leash is loose, call him back. Offer him the tug, just tug. Don't throw anything, don't make him jump. Just 4 feet on the ground and tug, 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 and hold your little leash. And if he wants to redirect, you just check him and say, no, you're not doing that. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And if a dog shows up and it's too close or you weren't prepared yet, then just put him in a luggage. And when the dog it passes away, and then you can get your dog up and then tug. Like, because I think he needs to learn the routine and he needs to experience this without having too much other conflicting factor. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
He'll get
yeah.
used to it that his life is now not playing puller at home and not going after other dogs on the street. His life is to like directly drive from A to B, get back tied and put into task. And then you will know how close a dog is for you to you're able to keep him on the tug still. So we need to get to that place. When you
Okay,
get that dog to redirect his attention away from the other dog and engage with you in a tugging, he's calming himself. You're telling him that dog is unavailable. You tell him what to bite, where to put his drive, his aggression, or whatever it is, right? And then he also learns that if you go too high and you don't respond to me, then you are still going to have a block. And you're not doing that. It's not happening. Okay, so that's one way. Then once you take that dog off that back tie, you might spend 15 minutes, a half hour, maybe an hour. Then you take him on a leash and basically either just stand in one place. And if the dog is sitting or not fixating and you can call him away, like get him to turn, then you feed his supper. The moment he refuses, like when you say in or focus or sit or walk by or come back this way, turn around, like whatever you're asking him, if he refuses it more than twice, you're going home. And that's
yeah,
it. That's it.
okay,
No play, nothing. You don't have to be like punishing the dog. Like you go home and he does what he does, but he's not gonna eat anymore that day, and he's not gonna play anymore that day. And next day, see you tomorrow, see you tomorrow. So when you want the dogs to change their emotional state of mind under certain circumstance, then you need to associate it to something positive that you have initially either imprinted in a dog, like the rings, or something that's an innate need, which is like eating, right? So usually a pet dog doesn't last more than 5 days. Three usually. After 3 days, they start to realize that this is serious business. The stubborn kind, about 5 days, like Rottweilers or, more of a tougher type dogs. And then the really, really tough dogs, it's about 12 to 17 days, but that would never happen to you because those are the type of dogs who does that are the livestock gardeners up in the mountains, and they often don't eat very often anyway. So like this
oh,
usual average dog is 3 to 5 days if they hold out.
oh, okay, good, good, yeah. Oh,
And
this is really exciting because for me, because I'm like fed up.
yeah, and it's fine to, like it's time for him to, you know, to know the rules. And this is not the only reason. The other reason is also because he's 5. So at this stage, they become more serious, they more aggressive, they more assertive, depending on they more willful, stubborn. I mean, he's always been that way, but he was at least younger. But now he's not. Now
Yeah,
he's gonna take a jab at you and see if you're gonna, you know, crumble underneath it, or you're gonna stand into him. So
yeah,
I think that with the prong collar, like I saw that you have the prong on him, I try to avoid the prong as much as possible because these dogs just go into more drive if you pop it too much, right?
oh, okay.
But I imagine you have it on because he's strong.
Yeah, like it's like he's very strong
Yeah.
and very fast. And well, the fast doesn't matter if he doesn't get away, but he's just
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you notice that if you pop on that collar, he goes into more energy, like he surges up in energy more, or it stops him and he backs away?
Um Normally he backs away. Like
Okay, good.
it's still like acting like a power break.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that we don't, you know, push him into that reaction.
Oh, okay.
Want to
Yeah.
discourage him from the reaction versus pushing him into. So I think that with the combination of the three things, like at first do the puller, then even on the same time, same day, you can do the food, or if one day
Okay.
you do one and the other day you do the other, depending, like just make sure that he has to learn to earn his food and it's not a given. It's not a given anymore. And then
Okay.
use your collar to to ex to communicate to him, nah, this is what I don't want. This is what I don't want. So that's when you pop, like boom.
Oh,
And then
okay.
you say enough. And make sure that you do it in a way that he is registers in his brain. He has to understand because I don't like, I mean, I know that you didn't really correct him on the thingy, on the video,
Hmm.
but I did see that he has the idea in his head that is totally acceptable.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
once he gets to the place of fixation, like it doesn't even cross his mind that, maybe I should hesitate, maybe I should check back, maybe I should like not go.
Oh, no.
Like he's absolutely convinced. He sees something, boom, at that point is his deal. So he sees something, you go, boom, no, 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 over there. And very, very, not angry, but very clearly, it is never happening. And
Oh, okay.
when
Good.
when we did the training back when, he was still very chaotic and he didn't like he was very reactive. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know the puller yet. There was like all these rules that had to be like he had to learn. And like you can't correct the dog if you don't teach him first, even if it's really hard.
Oh, okay.
And you want to
Yeah.
correct the dog's behavior because it's causing anxiety and potentially harm. But you can try to correct a dog that doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know where to go, like he just feels the corrections, and then depending on their temperament, if you correct them too much, too hard, then the dog just turns around and takes you out, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
so
so,
it's not what you want.
yeah. No, and just too, I didn't mention if I do like give him a good correction, like when there's a dog and he's ignoring me, when I'm telling him leave it, no, and then give him a correction. If I give him a big correction, then he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, whoa, whoa, like he's like talking to me like what? Like what? Like,
That's just a precursor to a bite, right?
okay, okay. Yeah, because like he doesn't want to bite me, but I'm interfering with what he wants
I
to
mean,
do.
if you do it enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the dogs that are very courageous, they don't care. They'll turn on a handler at any given time. You
yeah.
know?
Like I feel like he would, like once I cross it, like I reach a certain threshold with him, I'm sure he'll bite me.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why we have
uh,
to approach it as that's what I said. Don't get into a
mhm,
fight with a dog
mhm.
because I know that that's the kind of dog he is, and you like we have to respect each other. He has to respect you, and you have to respect the power in him. Like I have those type of dogs that there's a certain point I don't cross because I wouldn't come out in a good
Oh, the
know,
victor.
and I just go differently about it. So I
Yeah.
still get my way with them, but I don't push them into aggression because that's what a lot of people do if they don't understand that. So then
Oh,
that when you like he can't do anything about you when you feed him. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't
yeah.
control that. But the actual need to eat is great. It's greater than anything else. Okay? Like not in the beginning, but as it times go by, it becomes more predominant. And that's you can see that in human behavior. Like if there's a natural disaster happens and people don't have power or access to water or food, at first they help each other, they rally together, and then they start to get a little bit like shady, and then they start not saying I have extra, and then they start breaking into things, and then they start fighting over it, and then after that they're willing to kill for it. So that's what it is,
Right.
right? That's what
Yeah.
it's a hunger is a very great ruler, and if you use it for your benefit, the dog will be like, okay, survive and live, or chase a whatever, or have a conflict or trying to dominate another animal. So you just simply like kneel his decision to the ground. It's just like the only thing you have to do is you have to be very, very consistent and not cave, because then you're
Okay.
tormenting your dog. Like don't do that. Like if you
Uh,
decide to do this, think it over. make a commitment, and like it's not gonna take a very long time, but it's gonna be some moments when it's like, oh man, the dog is like looking for food and it's bugging me and this and that. And you're like, no, no, no. You go outside, you see a dog, you turn to me, I feed you. So then what he will learn is that when I see another dog, like the boundaries are the same. Whether you correct him on the prong, you're telling him, don't go after that dog, or you put him in a position of need and you tell him, don't go after that dog. One is his decision, the other way is not. The other way,
Right.
you are the one who is putting him between a rock and a hard place because he is now has a desire, or maybe he thinks it's a potential threat to have another dog around him. So that's a stressor. And then you're coming with another stressor and he's in the middle grinding over and over and over. And at some point when that happens to human beings, like they get pressure, and at some point they blow up, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are feisty, the ones that are not feisty, they shut down. They just,
Mm-hmm.
crumble. So with the food, you can turn his mind without having to be in a confrontation with him. And use the
Mm-hmm.
prong very lightly after, like more towards the end of this whole, redirecting thing. Because at that point, you won't have to be so hard on him because he's already primed and preconditioned to look to you. Because dogs are like a machine, like a computer. You program them, and then once that program is in, it runs. It just runs. And then with the biting, like in the beginning, you might have a bit more success with the food because it's easier for the dog to just take a piece of food than tug on the ring when he's very distracted. So that's why
Okay.
first you just show him. So just to recap, you need to introduce him the new rules, which is you don't eat at home and you don't play at home. Then you go to a place where there aren't too many dogs, or at least they're far away, and you don't let him loose. You back tie him, and then you just tug. You can throw the puller on that short line a little bit so that he gets to run a tiny bit, but don't give him freedom. Okay. And don't go home and start throwing the puller for him on the yard because I don't want him to have that extra freedom. Okay. So then when he gave you some good work, like he engaged, he tugged, he switched, you can even do jumping by the tree, him being on a back tie, a little bit of spin drops, that kind of stuff. Then you simply take him off, pullers away, food comes out, and you can just even stay at the tree if you notice people are coming around. And then have your leash hanging off that collar, and you just ask the dog to in. So you just back away a few steps and say in. And if he doesn't do it, just a little pop. Okay.
Okay.
You try to lure him with the food. He's gonna do it a few times. And then he'll realize that every time you offer him that food, there's the dog over there. Okay. So he will too, because he's not as hungry yet. He already played. He might decide that hell with that, I'm just gonna not do it and do it that way. At that point, you go home right away. Don't ask
Okay.
him again.
Okay.
Don't ask him again. Don't correct him for it. Just put him in the car, take him home, and that's it. And then you go the next day. And you go through the same process, same process. When you have success, moving him away, his attention away from the other dog, like what should happen is that another dog shows up, he will notice it, or a squirrel or a bird, like he will notice it, but that's okay. He can notice it. You can just say, okay, good, now in and in. And then when he comes to you, you feed him, and he's gonna redirect and look back. And you call him away again. So what you're practicing is right now not for him to never look at that dog or that squirrel. You're practicing how to peel off of it and come towards me. That's all you're practicing right now. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then once he gets hardwired to that, like he gets conditioned to it, and you're using the food and then some fasting, then like you have to let me know how it goes because it'll be very interesting what he'll decide to do. It'll be very different
Oh,
what he's known so far, like this time you throw the ball in his court and he's gonna have to tell you how he decides, and you're cool with either way. And then once you have success on a tree, like for example, you go there after a week and a dog just doesn't even look around anymore, just looks at you and say, give me the puller, this is what we're doing, I understand. Then you take your food and he'll be like, yeah, dogs, whatever, I'm looking at you because, and then you start doing your obedience just on the back tie, like little obedience, like eye contact, go get it, puppy push-ups, like all the baby stuff. Because the reality of it is that even though he can do more, under stress, they revert to very minimal ability to do things. So you need to make sure that those simple luring exercises, which is cognitive, he's capable of doing them, because then you can expect more of him later on. And this is all about conditioning. It's like the Pavlov type, light switch goes off, dog starts drooling. So harness goes on, dog starts focusing. Food comes on, dog starts to turn away from the outside distraction. So when you master the location with one tree, then maybe I would say about a week or so, then you go to another tree. You spend a couple of days on that other tree because now it's going to be faster and easier. And the rules are always the same. You disengage, you go home. You don't take the food, you go home, and you don't eat until the next day, next tree. And then you start to take this concept and don't go any further than that. Back tie, puller, back tie, food, and some luring stuff, and some luggage if you need to. And then you start taking this package of puller, food, back tie together, and then you move it here and here and here and here. You keep going around with it. Okay, so you're not going to be walking on a street with that dog. You're not gonna be going
Okay.
long walks. He's gonna live his life around a tree, and you can take him peeing on a whatever, like he can sniff around in your breaks, you know what I mean? Like when you're not doing puller or food stuff, you can take the dog and just around that little area, let him sniff, just stand behind him and he can do his thing, whatever. But don't go for walking, because you have to make sure that that area that you're working him in, he 100% generalized the behavior that is expected of him, and he needs to choose to do it. Of course, it's my idea and I want it, but he doesn't know that, right?
No,
So
no. Yeah, yeah.
then you can test it, and you can, like maybe a couple of weeks down the road, like I'm just thinking most like about a park, and you start in one corner and then work your way up to whatever point. And then you have a, I don't know, 400-500 feet distance, like this general area where he have been working, eating, doing puller, and understanding not to go after wildlife and other dogs. Then instead of going out there and right away hooking him up on a tree or anything like that, you're simply gonna just walk around and back and forth, and letting him neutrally observe things. So what you're gonna notice is that he doesn't have new information. Like, yes, every day the smells are different, but the area is the same. So it's the same as when dogs recognize a training field. When people say, oh, at home he does everything perfect, and in a training class he does everything perfect, but then I go somewhere else and it's not perfect. Well, because
Mhm.
it was called Turkey. You went from one place to another too fast. So don't leave that area, stay there and just meander, but now he's not back tied. He can be on a long line. You can even tie the long line to you if you want to, if you occasionally have to let him go. We'll just tie him to a tree, and start testing him if he can work there with you and walk there with you, and you can take him away. So then the correction will happen, like that correction that we talked about. It will happen, but there will be a difference. The difference is that the dog is primed, is prepared, and is understanding what the routine is and what is expected, and he voluntarily chosen to do it. So with that information, then you bait him in, no food, no toys. You just wait for somebody to walk right into you guys, okay? And he's gonna do something because it's been ingrained in his thinking, and it's an animal, and um, instincts are always override no, learned behavior. So the dog will always gonna notice, and maybe the reaction won't be so great, but the dog will always gonna notice. And then you're gonna, without pulling on that leash, you're gonna tell him to come in or turn around or whatever you want to say. And you give him exactly 1 second to comprehend it. And if he didn't, then you give one correction. And then just, and then loose leash. And just look at him. It's like, what is this? And he'll come beside you, and then you're gonna tell him, lie down. And don't make any, like, don't say good job or nothing. That's when you lay down the law. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
So if you do it this way, the dog will understand that I know what to do. I had enough experience, practice, rewards, and management to be 100% clear what to do. And then when I choose against it, I will get a correction. So I can do it for good reinforcement or I can do it for a block. So which one should I do? They always choose the easiest way out because dogs don't like to take the hard conflicting way. Okay, the only way they get into a conflict if they're forced into a conflict by not having clear instructions and not knowing what to do. And then
Oh, okay.
and then you go and start healing out of that, like let's say that radius that I talked to you about, then still stay there. And you are going to zoom in and out, like let's say it's a circle, and you go to the peripheral of the circle, and you're gonna go out of it and come back into it as you move around. Like you just keep, like I'll show it this way, like this, like go out,
Yeah, I understand.
come back like this.
In and out of the
You don't go
circle.
straight. Don't go
Yeah.
straight. And don't go just back in the middle and back out to the edge. Stay on the edge and just move out and back and out and back and out and back. And this way you're taking more territory, okay? More
Mhm.
territory. And the dog will still have the comfort of knowing where he's been worked all this time and the respect that this is how you behave. But it's gonna start getting, enticed or pressured with the being closer to others and having a different area as well. And you start to go from the inside out, okay? Then if you're, done with that park, go to somewhere else, like a parking lot, because the park was important because it's big enough and isolated enough that you can condition the dog and teach them the rules. But then you have to leave and you have to start going on to other places like, city areas or whatever. And the best thing I suggest is always a parking lot, airport. But maybe you don't want to go to the airport because it's too big. But like some like a
Yeah.
Canadian Tire or a shopping mall or something that's not very interesting, or a big parking lot for whoever, doesn't matter what it is. And you can just hook up that dog onto a parking meter or whatever, doesn't matter, and just check him if he'll tug. Okay. But
Yeah.
because
Okay.
he has been doing it for all this time and he recognizes that, oh, I get hooked up, this is what I do because I don't have any other choice, basically, then it will become another thing. And then eventually you don't have to hook him up. You just basically have the little leash in your hand and he'll just do the thing, right? And
Mhm.
then and then you do the same thing with the food, and then you work that parking lot the exact same way, but it won't take you so long. The only time it's gonna take you long is long. I don't think it's that long, like maybe a couple of weeks. In
First
the
time.
very,
Yeah.
very beginning. And then after that, you can take the dog to the moon and he'll just do the same exact thing. And then what you do is you just go to look for like dog parks or places where there are animals or more people, and you now, or just not doing any of these big, tug and jump and do all this stuff, or you're just going to basically go someplace and you can stand if it's really busy, or you can walk if it's not busy, and stop randomly and just get your one puller and tuck, 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 put it away, heel. And then you stop, okay, eye contact, go get it, whatever, heel. And now you're starting to walk the dog, but you're always stopping and bringing back this puller and foot thing that you
Mhm.
have solely focused on over here for many weeks. And then also use the collar if he is not as committed as you would like him to be. Okay. So at this point, he still only eats on the street. He still only plays on the street. And then when he's like, let it go, the little tug on the leash is enough now, like you basically just have to say, it's still a no. It's still a no. And it's going to be a no tomorrow. It's going to be a no next year. It's always a no. And if you see him getting frustrated, here, bite something. I'll help you. And then let me get your brain back. Here's the food. Do you want to have supper? Okay, give me something. And then you walk again, right? So then you can, it goes to a point where you have gone to every place you would want to go to. Okay, so park, around dogs, street, shopping center, I don't know, wherever you guys want to go. And then you're going to start playing with the dog at home. Okay, so before you take him out, puller him a little bit so he can run, jump. No, don't feed him. But you take your puller and you're going to take the dog outside there is already have a lesser drive, okay? And you continue your little program, but now part of that puller is being done at home in the yard. And then you, if that checks out well, then you can leave the puller at home. Like you just
Oh,
puller him at home and you go. You can take a little tug, those little sausage
yeah. Your
tugs.
little stick jug
Yeah,
things.
you
Yeah.
can take a little thing with you because biting is always a great thing for dogs like that. It's just let me bite something, I'll feel better. And and then you just use the food, and then you start giving the dogs um, only half a meal on the street, and then the other half at home. And now you leave the food and the puller behind, and things go back to normal, but the understanding is going to be cemented, and not a small pop on the leash will be enough to stop him. Okay. And eventually, because it's always there, it's like, don't do that. It's the same thing. We still don't do that, but there's not a fight. You're not fighting him, right? Now you're
Mhm.
communicating, and then you just live your life, and the dog will simply just leave that behavior behind, and the other behavior that you want becomes stronger. And that's how you can turn that around. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Like, this is awesome. Thank you so much because I was when I said I was like fed up, I meant I was like discouraged about having this dog for the rest of his life, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
now I feel like oh, if I can just do this, which I know I can,
Oh,
um,
it's easier for you to do it now than what you have done in so far. But the thing is that people get discouraged because they don't realize that rehabilitating a dog, or not even rehabilitating, because I don't think anything is wrong with that dog. You know what I mean? Just being able to influence the dog is a process, and it's not always because of you. Sometimes it's because of the dog. Sometimes the dog is not ready, doesn't learn a certain way, doesn't display those behaviors that even a person like you who have so much experience and you're such a great owner, this dog is not like this because of you. This dog is like this because of him. But he's a dog. Like, he can't help himself. You're the only person, probably all of Ottawa, that can help this dog, that has the commitment and the knowledge to do it. But even you, and even me, will have to recognize and accept and think about it time to time that it's a process. And until the dog is ready for the next thing, you can't do anything about it. You have to just keep hammering at it. And then the next stage comes, and then you do that, and the next stage comes and you do that. But the hardest work you had already done.
well, that's great to know. Thank you. Yeah, I feel I'm so glad. Well, yeah, we have this. I reached out to you when at this time, when maybe I should have done it a year ago, but we are where we are, and
Well,
um,
I mean, I
yeah,
just saw him on the video, and that's what I see. I see a very trusting,
yeah.
competent dog that doesn't understand that this is not what you want from him. Okay.
Okay.
All he understands is that he gets busy with something, and then occasionally you lay into him. That's all he knows. Like, he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, you can
No,
tell,
he doesn't.
like, oblivious to it. And so you have to make it known to him what you want. And the
Hmm.
best way to make it known to a dog what you want is to show the routine. This is what's happening. Car, park, harness, bag tie, tugging, and luggage. And then if you check out, great. If not, you go home.
Okay. Yeah. No,
He doesn't even get to the food. He doesn't even
no.
get to the food. Okay. Then but I don't mean that he has to talk for 20 minutes. No, no. Like,
Oh,
he talks for 2 minutes in the beginning, or 1 minute even. I'm happy. As long as you
yeah.
had a breakthrough, it's okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
You probably do it, and then it's like, and then you
Hmm.
just work on the food. He will take the food in the beginning a bit easier, and then he will realize that he has to tug before he eats. So
Oh, okay.
if you go out there and he doesn't engage in your tugging, then so
Yeah.
that's the thing, like hunting before eating. And then when you show the dog what to do, then you put the dog in the position of need. So you don't give him other things, other ways in other times. This is the only way he can interact with you. This is the only way he can eat. And then he'll sort it out in his head very quickly. how that goes.
Okay.
And then you
Good.
just build on that, like you conquer the concept for him, and then you domesticate it. You practice, you practice, you practice, you practice, and then oh, sorry, they fortify it, and then you domesticate it, make it part of life. So whether you're gonna eventually walk with a dog or a piece of food in your pocket or not, it should not make any difference.
Right.
Right? Whether
Okay.
you play with the dog at home or you don't, it should make no difference because the dog has to understand that his life is being lived through you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happens to him, he has to come to you and ask for permission. And if you say no, it's a no.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay? So that's what it is. And it's a good time to do it because he's 5 years old. So he's in
Yeah.
prime. So between 5 and 8 years, he'll be a pretty good established dog. And a lot of times that even the well balanced dogs are still do that. They turn on the handler, whether mentally or physically, it doesn't matter, but they reach maturity and they try to take over. They just become more and more forceful. And if you don't pull those dogs to the side and say, hey, let me remind you for the rules and regulations, they just take over. So you don't like I have two 8-year-old dogs, a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So I have dogs that are continuously going through this defiant, like it's not defiance, they just become serious. Like the curiousness becomes, pushiness. The assertiveness become aggression, the
Oh,
playfulness become pushing. Like it's just it's like people, I think in the beginning, children are a certain way, and then when they get to be teenagers, they go through their thing. But then as they become adults, young adults, they still quite insecure. But as they become closer to their 30s and 40s, you'll see how their power shows up mentally or physically in those people. And not until they get older, drop that, right? And so if they're too cocky, then life will teach them otherwise, right? But you can't tell them that because they like, "Ooh," like they feel so powerful because they're energetic and they are young, but they don't have the experience. So that's why you have to be smart about it. And you're the one who is the experienced one. So you have to sort of humble them a bit, right? But not,
yeah.
but if you have a dog that's so choleric like him, so forceful, mentally strong dog, then don't fight with it because it's going to be a fight, right? And we want an agreement, like we want a win-win thing.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and you need to give him out. You need to give him the way to solve his own problem. And they
Oh,
they will. They always will. They always solve their own problems if you let them, right?
great. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I'm on board.
And I know
Um,
you're good. Like you always like take these things and work at it and make it happen. And it's just what happened now. This is the stage that this dog reached, and now it's not gonna be as unpleasant as it was the earlier times.
good. Yeah, because that was a big thing we went through when I first got him, and we went through it, and um, I have a couple questions, just generally speaking, like when a person gets a puppy, for example, like maybe it's a puppy with a temperament like Hudson's or anybody, like I've had a lot of dogs that have ended up reactive, and well, they were reactive when I got them, but I'm just wondering how they got that way, like, and I wondered if I
Like,
contributed to it.
did you
Like
get them as a puppy or you got them as an adult?
I got them at on average, I'd say 1 year old, but they were already like that.
Yeah, they probably weren't born that way,
They
like
probably weren't.
no, 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 no. Like
No.
if you got them as a 1-year-old, like well, I shouldn't say that, but
Remember?
don't ever take a 1.5-year-old dog, okay? And don't
Oh,
listen to that they have allergies and blah 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 because it's a lie.
oh,
People just want to pass the problem, to somebody else because they wrecked the dog and now they don't and can't deal with it, which is still better to
yeah.
give it to somebody who can and will than not to. But the reality of it is that a puppy, if it's a like when the puppy is born in a litter, like they're not homogenic, like they're not every one of them is the same. So in a litter of 8 puppies, you have probably two that are higher dominance, higher aggression, higher, that kind of stuff. And then one could have a very outgoing personality, like it would be a good working or or hobby dog or sporting dog. And then the other has this very strong side to him, but also it's very sensitive, and that makes a reactive dog. And then you also
Oh,
have the dogs that are, in the middle, like usually about four puppies that are like, really sanguine, very friendly, easy going, could be sensitive, but they won't become reactive because they're so friendly and they're so social. So they don't get scared of
okay.
things and that kind of stuff. So then, you have two, and then you have four, that's six, and then the other two is usually dogs that are more on the sensitive side or a phlegmatic side, like non-motivatable, like, indifferent dog. It's really good to sit on the couch and do nothing, but don't ask him for stuff, and he may or may not come, but he might not even leave you because he's like, he doesn't care. And then you have the uber sensitive reserve dog that, you look at him and it crumbles, right? Like
Oh,
I can't handle any pressure. So depending on how these puppies were born within a litter, it doesn't matter what breed of dog or mixed breed of the dog is. Within a litter, you will see this across the board. And the dogs that end up being sold to people, people who like whether it's a bred dog and the breeder is really knowledgeable and cares about where the dogs are going. But even if the breeder is, they don't know the people who buy their dogs. You know what I mean? Like I imported a lot of dogs, and every time I did it, I'm like, I'm never gonna do it again because it's so difficult to gauge if it's the right person for that dog, or the
mhm.
other way around, because they say, oh, I'll do this and I'll do that, but they don't do it. You know what I mean? Like 95% of the time people don't do what they say they would do, and then you gave them this dog based on what they promised and said they would do with it, and then as soon as they get it in their hand, they're no longer listening. So that's another story. However, when people take home a puppy like this, like a shepherd or a mixed breed, or doesn't matter, they don't understand that that dog comes with genetics, and they dismiss very important things, because they don't know or because they don't listen. Those are two options. And they allow the dog to, they either too hard on a young puppy that's, let's say, sensitive, and the dog becomes defensive, or they too lenient with the dog. They let them on the furniture, free feed them, lots of toys on the ground, over socialize the dog, daycare, whatever, and they don't teach them anything because the dog is young, has all the freedom in the world, is happy just to do whatever it wants. And then something happens. Doesn't come when it's cold, starts becoming reactive because there's no boundaries. There's nobody on the end of that leash that say, this is what's going on. I got you. You don't go there. You do this. There's no communication built because they just let the dog do whatever because, oh, the dog is so smart because it sits and shakes the paw. Well, that doesn't matter. The dog sits because you're tall, and it shakes the paw because that's what they did when they were nursing, like their paws are always up. So you haven't
Mhm.
taught the dog nothing. And then it starts to become destructive because they don't look at their drive. So it's destructive, A, because it's nervous and has anxiety, or it's destructive because it's not nervous and wants to go with you when you're leaving them at home. So it's just gonna shred the house one way or another. It doesn't matter. And then people start to be like, oh, we better go to classes. And they start yanking, cranking that dog, but they actually have zero relationship with the dog because they have never, ever made the effort to actually do something properly. And then now we are up to 1 year, 1.5 year. And at
Mhm.
that point, the first bite happens, the first lunging happens, the outburst, the pulling on the leash happens, and the people will be like, well, we better get rid of this dog. So then you take this dog that at first was either overpowered, overcorrected, or not at all, did not, kind of was a rogue, like nobody had a real relationship with this dog. The dog just did whatever. And then the hammer came down and it became a power struggle. It's me over you. And then the emotions started to surface. The owner started to be resenting the dog, and some owners resent the dog and also feel very guilty. So they have these very mixed emotions, which makes the owner imbalanced, which transfers to the dog, and that makes the dog even more imbalanced. And now you have a really bad dynamic and anxiety and struggle. And then if you top that and the dog comes across another dog who is equally imbalanced, they trigger each other, and that's when dog fights start and so on and so forth. And then that's when these dogs end up in a shelter, and comes somebody who picks this dog up, takes it home, and And if that's your pattern that you rescue dogs, then it's not you who creating the reactivity, but you are creating the situation that you pick these dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like Hudson was forced on me because
Yeah.
I felt like I was like, okay, after Duke, I was done with rescuing and everything. But anyway, then I end up with this situation. But I've been curious because I didn't think it was just about socializing a puppy. It's just not just obviously from what you just said. It's not just it's about the relationship and boundaries and
You
so
don't
many
have to socialize a social dog. It is social. You
they're
just have
naturally.
to expose the social dog so that they know what the staircase is, the different noises, the different surfaces. They have to see a kid, a ski, whatever. So in the first, like, and that's when you don't have these dogs. Like in the first between 10 and 16 weeks is your only window of opportunity to introduce your puppy to anything and everything and embed that information into the dogs without stress. But if people miss that window, then you have to do it later on, and that takes a lot longer. Okay, so socializing, like the first 4 months of the dog's life, from babyhood to you, should be about you and the dog building your relationship, playing together, hunting together, working for the food, teaching that young puppy before it becomes adolescent and the hormones take its brain away for a few months, right? So you want to get this time in with your dog. So between 8 to 10 weeks to 16 weeks, up until a dog is four, maybe 5 months old, you can do lots of playing, lots of imprinting, lots of exposure, because the teeth are still there, and the puppy can tug and put its mouth and can learn to stay in the kennel, learn to walk on the leash, learn to travel, learn to leave things alone, learn the house rules. And it's easy to control a young dog because it's small. Okay. And people should be busy with doing these behaviors that would keep you very, very busy, but it's not what happens. They
Yeah.
just end up, I don't even know what happens. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. And then the teething starts. So that makes the dog wants to chew, right? It's reluctant to hold things that they used to hold because of the mouth, but you still shouldn't stop playing because the puppy will figure out where to bite, you know? So in the beginning they bite on the back because the incisors are coming out, but then they don't bite on the back because the incisors are out now on the front, but the back ones are moving, and then the canine starts to move. So this, like when you tug with the dog, whether it's a smaller gauge puller or a different tug toy, you should still do it. You should still keep the mouth hard and work that dog because they need it so badly, and they're still very interested in food. And you take the food and you associate it to things that you find that your dog might be overly interested in, like if it's a type of dog that's super friendly or interested in getting away from it, like it's afraid of it, right? Afraid of noise, afraid of people, afraid of bikes, afraid of cars, or wants to chase cars, wants to chase people, kids, whatever, cats, right? So you use your food and associate it to the dog that if you leave them or don't run away from them, I'll feed you. And you can very nicely like bridge it over, right? And then you
Mm.
start then 7 months, the teeth are all in, then you go back to your play skills and start really working that dog's mouth, like then, you tug hard, you do retrieving, still not jumping because you injure your dog if you're jumping them, at a young age. And go and live your life with the dog. And of course, he can play with other dogs, but only play with dogs that are decent. Like if people like that dog could be very decent, but if it's very unruly because the owner never done anything, don't go there. Like simply
Yeah.
expose your dog to things you don't want. But go to people whose dogs are, controlled, and they either friendly or they neutral. They could be authoritarian, but not making contact and hurting your young dog. And then go like between like 7 months and 15 months, you just go to classes or make your own class, whatever you do. But you train and you train and you train because you gotta raise that adolescent dog and finish it. And when you got that done at year and a half, where other people get rid of their dogs, that's when your dog is finished. It's still a young dog, right? You still have to manage it and tell him what to do, when to do it. You have to keep him busy. But if you do it this way, at the end of the year and a half, you have a dog. If
Yeah.
if you don't do it this way, you will have a failure. And if you're a person with a good conscience and a good sense, but you're just ignorant or didn't have the access to anything, then you will have to live with the failure and the guilt. And
Yeah.
that might discourage you to try again, or if you try again but you haven't learned, you'll just repeat the same thing, you produce the same problem. It's like a relationship, you can either stay in a relationship and fix it, or I mean within reason obviously, or just keep repeating the same thing, and it's like 25 years later it's the same argument, right? So
Mhm.
so with the dogs it's a very same similar, and then you look at that dog and you look at what their strengths are, what is this dog was created for? What is it that this dog could really thrive with? And it may not be what you bought the dog for. I don't know how many dogs I bought for protection work and none of them worked out.
Oh,
None of them had the hardness that requires to be a protection dog that I would have liked. So
oh,
I ended up with a lawn ornament, a dog that went to schools in day schools for kids and laid there for 6 hours on every Friday for years. I just have these dogs that don't do what I want them to do, and I just got a new giant schnauzer, and I hope she will. But
oh, oh.
but you'll see.
Is is she a puppy still?
She's not 10 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's one of my schnauzer's granddaughter,
Oh,
and yeah, but you just look at the dog at that time. Like the dog well enough, and it's well trained enough to see if this dog would make a good sporting dog, or a good family dog, or a hiking dog, or a whatever, right? And if the dog requires and needs that kind of activity, then you go and do it. Because if you don't do it, you're working against their nature, not with their nature. So you have to work with their instincts and not against their instincts. And then if you look at the shelters and the advertisement and what people do, like you can see that the dogs that are being rehomed are usually between 1 and 1.5 year of age, and then 5 to 6, something around that, because that's when these things really show up. So
oh,
but usually the older dogs get rehomed because of moving or other extenuating circumstance, but the young ones, sometimes even as early as 10 months or 7 months, you see these dogs, and why that is. You know why that is, that the people are over their head.
yeah.
And that's one thing, that you're over your head, but they're not willing to work for it. They think that it's not worth it or something. I don't know. And of course, like there are the circumstances when there is something happened in the family, like all those things are legit and can happen, but very small percentage, probably 10% all
Mm.
overall. The rest is like never believe anything you hear. Doesn't matter
No,
what people say. It doesn't matter
no,
because
no.
it's not it. Like
Yeah.
people just bring the dog and I can tell right away.
Yeah. Hudson was 10 months, so that's perfectly like right on your schedule, like what you're saying. And
Yeah.
well, we know what happened with him or
And
didn't.
they missed a lot of, I mean, it's probably was a very hard puppy to begin with. So I think they tried and then they just went like, so they hit that teenager or adolescent
Hmm.
age where even if you did everything perfectly, even if you're a really good handler, you are gonna be on the end of your leash. Like that 7 to 10, 11 months is just the worst. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
when the dog wears on you like crazy. And that's why I always tell people, play skill, street proofing, trail classes, puller, like OB1, 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 OB1. Just
Oh,
keep at it, keep at it. Because if you can manage to stay busy and be supported by your fellow dog owners and your trainers, and you keep giving new things to your dog and teaching them new skills so that it keeps their interest, keeps them busy, keeps them tired, keeps them occupied, keeps them controlled, then by the time they turn about 1, they drop it a little bit. They haven't dropped it 100%, but at least they take that really big edge off. And then you work another 6 months and then you're golden.
well,
The people who the only people who take 2 years to train a dog is either if the dog just really, really hard and it's not the owner's doing, or the dog would have been trained, but the owner just simply can't do something, can't correct the dog, because you have to correct the dog from puppy to adulthood. Like correcting is like a derailing dog, you put them back on rail. It is not about punishing or hurting your dog. It's correcting every little thing that could possibly go wrong. So, for example, you do the side position and the dog wiggles and gets up, and you don't correct it. You don't bring it back. You don't insist on it. Then that's a mistake. And the dog learned that if I fight, I can get out. Same thing goes for crying, scratching the kennel, blah, 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 pulling on a leash. And so as you raise your puppy, you have to continuously teach, nurture, correct, teach, nurture, correct. And you keep going like this all the way. And as the dog grows, you might have to, depending on their temperament, if it's a very soft dog, you just poke them. It's like, hey, don't do that. But if you poke a dog that's choleric and the dog is just like either growls at you or just keeps going, then I'm gonna grab them. It's like, get your ass back here. I'm gonna be more physical with that dog because he's physical to begin with. So you just have to know what kind of personality you have. Like if you're a very peaceful, gentle person and you got yourself these type of dogs, it's gonna be very hard on you because it's not in your nature to be like, hey, it's not happening. You really have to suffer a lot before you stand up and say, okay, I'm gonna take you out now because it's been 2 years or something. But if you have a very soft dog and you're a very assertive handler, you'll be very frustrated with your dog because the dog like cowers and doesn't want to come to you, slow, keeps away, has conflict with you. Then it's hard because you just want to help the dog and you want to get to the work, but you don't realize that that dog is, it doesn't learn like that. Like you have to change the way you approach your dog. So I just think that yeah, in this big Zoom, I know everything, Google, internet world, like people really are lost. They they
Oh,
they get the Moody's, they get the Malinois, the Border Collies, the Aussies, like all these like mega working dogs. And they take them home, or shepherds even, and they don't know what they just gotten. And they most certainly don't understand how much you have to work on that dog for years in order to keep them safe. And then you have all these TikTok videos of these young trainers that just dishes out the brains. Oh, do this and do this and do this and do this. Instead of talking to people, like talking to people about what is your personality type? What is your dog's temperament type? When do you need to bring a dog to your home? What do you have to prepare yourself? Like all these things are not really on the internet. It's just like, look how great I am, and I'll tell you how to do this. And yeah, it's I see it. It's pretty crazy. And I think once people find trainers that explain it to them and break it down and bring them down to earth, because most dogs don't have those genetics that you see on TikTok, those really spinny fast dogs are just like all
no.
and everything. And they also only show you the nice stuff. They don't show you the other stuff. Like to make a video like that, you need to shoot it quite a few times before you see it flawless. And people who actually know what it is, they can see the flaws in it if they didn't catch it. Like an older trainer can see when a younger trainer really shouldn't have posted that video because they just discredited themselves by doing that. But the other people don't see that. They don't know that.
No, no, no.
So
Um,
that's what I would do with him.
that's what I'm gonna do. Gonna do my best anyway, because I'm really motivated
I
to
think
help.
you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it because I was going to mention just earlier that like this is the stage that you're stepping into now. And the reason why it's exciting and motivating is because you know what to do. Like you have a
Yeah,
plan. Now you
yeah,
can
I have a
see,
plan.
I can see where you're heading and why you're heading that way and why you're doing what you're doing. And then you'll see because I mean there was just a seminar in Summerland on hunting dog training and I said a lot of things, but one of the things I said that it came back to me from the client, she said, and I have said that before, but it took a year and a half for her to hear it. Okay.
Oh,
It's about furniture, dogs on the furniture, and how it affects your relationship and why. So, so she said, it resonated with me so much, and it's only been a week and a half, and I've noticed immense change between the dog and her, right? So sometimes people are not ready to hear things, when they hear it, then they see the benefit. And so if you're doing hard things, but you see the results of it, it's very motivating.
well, and to have hope too, like motivated, have a plan, and I expect I'll see results.
Yeah.
But also I have hope now because like I said before, I've got like, I don't know, 10 more years with this dog if barring accidents or health issues or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to be, I want to have a dog I can enjoy. I don't care if I have to train him to track or introduce him to some other sports or
Mhm.
whatever I find that he likes
Mhm.
or that he needs. I'm happy to do it, but I want to be able to do it, do something rather
And you can do the side position with him, right?
the which the side position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can do the side. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that like this is time to do it now this way because you have the trust, like he trusts you. That's why he
Yes.
will bite you. You know, if it would have been anybody else, it would have decked him. I'm certain.
He would have bit them.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least to
Yeah.
stop them from getting out of the, like, like don't interfere. Boom. It's like when dominant dogs go and bark at the fence and there's like
Yeah.
then one dog, then the most dominant one asserts itself. Nobody else can bark at that post lady. Okay. So they all go to the charge the gate and the dominant one will turn and deck the others.
Oh right.
They
Yes.
continue barking. So it's not like they want to tear them into shreds, but they want them to not interfere and get out of their face. And that's what he did. Okay.
Mhm.
So if he didn't respect you, he would have made contact, but he didn't. He just looked. But we don't
Yeah.
want to go that road. Like we don't go
Oh,
that way.
eventually, like yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, no, don't fight him. You can win a different way. You don't have to do it that way.
Oh no, I'd much rather do it in like in an agreement way, like you said, and then because then we'll build that trust and I will be able to take him to like he'll be a dog then that I can take with me.
Yeah, exactly.
He says, yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, Eric, I kept you over time, but
Okay,
sorry.
I'm just gonna stop the recording.
Yeah.